All right, launching another brand new hour here, the Steve Gruber Show. Glad to have you along for the conversation. A lot to cover this hour. Here are three big things you need to know. Number one, future uncertainty for guaranteed income programs funded by pandemic money here in Michigan. We'll talk about that in the city of Ann Arbor, who's affected. Number two, a Michigan senator seeks to end SOAR, the SOAR fund, and MEDC as well. Yeah, we'll talk about that. And speaking of talking about business, number three, joining me now is Wendy Block. She's the Michigan Chamber Senior Vice President of Business Advocacy. Wendy, welcome back to the program.
Thanks for having me.
Nice to have you here. All right, so we've got it looks to me, we've got a Trojan horse here, a wolf in sheep's clothing. Any other thing you'd like to use? Invest in Michigan kids. Boy, that sounds nice. Invest in Michigan kids. That sounds like a nice thing that people should support, right? Except that it's not really what it is. It's a thing to hide a graduated income tax on a ballot proposal. What do you make of this?
Yeah, so the Board of State Canvassers, they're the entity in Michigan that approves issues for the ballot. They're meeting later today to discuss a proposed amendment to change Michigan's longstanding flat income tax rate and to nearly double the rate for those who have income over $500,000 as single filers or $1 million as joint filers. This is not good because number one, would make Michigan the seventh highest income tax rate in the country, with the highest in the Midwest. But the big issue here is more about the impact that this will have on small and mid-sized businesses. It would be devastating, as most of these impacted taxpayers are what we call pass-through entities. They're LLCs, they're partnerships, they're S-corps, and their business income is actually taxed at the individual level, meaning this change would hit those job providers directly, taking their rate from 6% to 9.25, a whopping 9.25%.
6% to 9.25% on all business income, or when you say graduated?
Just above those thresholds. But, what you kind of pointed out at the beginning here is that every word in this proposed ballot proposal has clearly been message test. They call themselves Invest in My Kids, yet the money is only required to be deposited into the school aid. Not a single dollar of that is guaranteed to ever make it to kids or make it to the classroom. And they're really just hiding who this will impact. They talk about it impacting millionaires and billionaires, but what they don't talk about is the devastating impact it would have on these small businesses. So, the Board of Canvassers is meeting today to discuss this, to see if they can move ahead with collecting signatures. I think what we want your listeners to know is that when you go to the farmer's market or you go to outdoor concert this summer and somebody asks you to sign this innocuous sounding petition to get this issue on the ballot, doesn't it sound so great? You've got to remember there's small print here that needs to be reviewed. The best thing to do is just to decline to sign. But if you do want to sign it, you need to ask questions. You need to actually read the language of the ballot proposal, not just 100 words that somebody has come up with and, crafted in a marketing message to sound great. So that, I think, is the takeaway for today.
So the graduated income tax, it would target, obviously, small business, pass-through corporations. We have an S corporation here, one of our companies, would drill us, obviously, at 9.25%. Look, Michigan's already losing to Indiana and Ohio and Pennsylvania and Wisconsin on jobs and business investment in the state. I mean, we're getting killed by these people. This is going to be worse than Jennifer Granholm's lost decade. I mean, going down this road is a disaster. And who are these people, by the way? Are they Michigan people? I'm going to say probably not.
Well, we're still trying to figure that out. Their campaign finance reports are not exactly telling, but we do not believe that this is largely funded by in-state groups. We believe that out-of-state groups are responsible for this. We've seen it in other states. This has been proposed in other states, has gone down at the ballot in several states. It has been passed in others, but there's a lot of questions that have to still be answered here as things move forward.
Yeah, but it would be another blow to Michigan's business environment.
Oh, 100%. Yes. This is not going to make us any more competitive. In fact, it's going to make us a lot less competitive people who have means, they can decide where they want to live. And if you're going to tax them at this high of a rate, they very well may decide to leave, and that means Michigan loses.
So let me get this straight. I mean, we spend more on education than we ever have, right? We continue to spend more. And Mississippi is kicking us in the tail, right? The Mississippi Miracle, because they're actually teaching kids how to read and write. We've spent a tremendous amount on roads. They're still not fixed. And they want to raise taxes. And there's a pretty decent plan from the Republicans to get us there. But all these ideas of raise taxes and throw money at this and that and everything, it's not working. It's killing us.
Yeah.
And it's killing our competitiveness.
Yeah.
Look at Tennessee and Ohio and Indiana. We're getting creamed. Go ahead.
Yeah, we would agree. There is no plan here in terms of how this money that will be collected from this huge income tax increase would actually improve student achievement, boost student achievement in any way. And in fact, there's no guarantees that the money even makes it to the classroom. The legislature ultimately gets to decide where this money goes after it gets deposited in the school aid fund. We believe that we need a solid plan to boost achievement, and then, to figure out, well, what is that going to cost, if anything, right? I mean, we spend, as you pointed out, we spend more money than we ever have in Michigan, and yet achievement continues to decline. This isn't a solid plan to increase achievement. It's just a solid plan to raise more revenue and to tell taxpayers they got to pay more.
Yeah. How much on a $500,000 income? Let me see here. I mean, that's another 20 grand. Is that what it is in taxes? Something like that. $40,000.
Yeah, I haven't done the exact math, but I would say, this is, you would think this is going to bring in a ton of money. And, for your everyday listener, it probably sounds like a lot of money, but in the grand scheme of things of an $80 billion state budget, $80 billion plus state budget, this will only raise another $1.6 billion. It's really not that much money when you start talking about it in those terms,
Sure.
Which is somewhat interesting.
And I'm running the numbers here because I'm curious. But for a small business, it's the difference between hiring a new employee and not, or two new employees, or getting
exactly.
a piece of equipment they need to go forward. It's the difference of being viable and not being viable. That's what it is. Anyhow, Wendy.
Yeah, it is estimated, that 2/3 or more of the taxpayers impacted by this proposal are small and mid-sized businesses. So again, this may sound good when somebody talks to you about it, but really you need to understand the details here and need to understand the impacts.
Absolutely. Decline to sign. That's where I am with it. I think I'm going to take your advice on that one. I will not sign that one. Wendy Block from the Michigan Chamber. There it is. Invest in Michigan Kids sounds nice. It's not what it's about. It's about cranking up taxes one more time, and this time in significant ways. Wendy, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
All right, when we come back, we're going to talk more about students. We're going to talk about student athletes, how they make money, the NIL deal, all of that coming up on the Steve Gruber Show.